and like kind of push them ahead, it's okay for, you know, for you to take a mental break or a day off or just recharge by going out and checking out or just taking time off. Time off is super important, like especially in a creative field. You're trying to figure out problems that have never been solved before. So sometimes you just need to take yourself out of that situation, and then your brain one day when you're in Helsinki or wherever, like you're thinking, oh wow, now this makes sense, and let me take this back to solving this problem that I couldn't figure out the answer to before. So for me personally, it was just recently last year where I started saying every 6 months I would take a month off, because where I work now we have unlimited vacation, which is
sweet. It's hard amazing to come back from that, dude.
Yeah. So, but you know, as long as you're getting your work done, and you know, you don't want to try to say, oh, I'm going to take off like 6 months and then only work for 6 months, because they're paying you to actually do something. There. So consistent. But no, just keeping it like this time around, I didn't know where I wanted to go until the day after I actually was on break. But I just said I'm going to leave anyway and take my break, because if I don't, I'll just keep working. So just making sure you take that time off is super important.
Is this something that you read or advice from friends? Is this something that through practice you just were able to build a system that works for you? Like, how did you get into this time of thinking, and it obviously works for you?
It really just, I'm pretty sure it's different for every person. This is just kind of what works for me, as I realize if I work for a whole year and then I take time off during Christmas time, which I usually do, maybe to visit family. That was kind of my schedule before, where I had maybe 10 days of vacation a year, maybe a little more. Or if we ship a game, maybe we'll have like a month off sometimes. But I'll usually wait till the end of the year. It's snowy, cold, and it's winter time, and I'm like, oh, like I kind of miss having summers, you know, when you're in school and you have summer vacation. Like, it's awesome. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to give myself a summer vacation as well. And it works for me that I have that mid-year kind of break, and then I can work for 6 more months, and it's just a good cadence for me. So that's why I chose that 6-month marker.
Man, so can you tell me about your first time where you're like, all right, I'm doing this, and the first trip is going to be, you know, Germany or wherever you decided to go, you know, planning for it, looking forward to it. Did you go by yourself? Did you go with a friend? Like, let's talk about that first one, because on this podcast, there's going to be a lot of people who love what you're talking about and are going to want that and are going to start preparing to do it themselves and then like make their first journey. So if you have like maybe 5 minutes to go over like where your mind was and what things you learned or what things that would help somebody like who wants to follow suit to like, all right, here's how I planned it out. Here's what I did. I saved a little, or I did this and used a travel agency, or, you know, I guess what tips would you have for somebody trying to follow your footsteps? Specifically speaking, me, right? Like, how do I do the twice a year vacation model?
Oh yeah. So yeah, no, it's so funny because I've been traveling for so long that it's almost automatic to me that, but what I have done is I've kind of inserted new kind of goals for myself in traveling as I've traveled. So the first time around when I kind of started doing this vacation planning or something was like, I decided every time I travel, or first it started out every year, I would try to go somewhere that I've never gone before. And then also within that trip, if it's kind of like a month long or 3 weeks long, I would say, okay, I would spend a week in a place I don't know, or maybe even more, and then go somewhere that I love or that's really familiar to me. So I can kind of, you know, it's kind of like a wave, right? You're like, oh, in this place you don't know, and now you're in this place you're super comfortable with. Or you could find friends that you're really cool with, and then no matter where you are when you're with those friends, right, it feels like you're comfortable and you're at home anyway. So I do sometimes like to see if I can travel with friends, because that just makes everything a lot more enjoyable. You guys can share experiences. And also if you have friends that live in these places, like I have a lot of friends in Europe because I used to work in Europe. And also I've kind of traveled here a lot. So I would say, oh, hey, is this a good time for me to come by? And would come by, I'd get usually, I have this app that I love called Hotel Tonight.
Oh yeah.
which is I can book a hotel instantly without having to worry about planning way ahead of time, and I get discounts and all this stuff. So that app I've used. I went to Croatia, or no, this was actually before. Like, I went to Prague and used that app when I landed and said, "Oh, I need a hotel now. Let me look," and got a hotel in like 30 seconds, and it was amazing. Went there, it was great. The check-in was great, and so no matter where I am, even if it's if it's a place I don't know, I'll usually check to see what's available on that app.
Okay.
And so then I know I have a place to stay. And also with airplane deals, I'll just use Google Flights and check out what the best deal is. And then I'll check the actual website of the airline to see if maybe there's a better deal. Because there's a really great deal for Icelandair where you can fly to Europe and get a free layover in Iceland for up to 7 days. So that's a
nice.
cool thing they do during the summers. But yeah, that first time around, I went to Prague, Paris. And Prague was a place I had never been, and I ended up loving it. Probably one of my favorite places on earth. Second favorite, besides probably like Paris and Hawaii or whatever. So like, I went there, and then I ended up in Stockholm because I really love Stockholm. And then, yeah, travel around. I think the second time around, I had never been to Hawaii, which I lived so close to it when we were in California, so decided to go there. But yeah, just they're all kind of running together now because I'm thinking about which trip was where. Yeah, Prague was probably the first time I started saying, okay, one place I've never been, followed by places that I have friends or I'm really comfortable in.
One thing I'd be afraid of, not afraid, but just I would know as a difficulty is like you're going to places where a lot of people may or may not speak English. I speak 2 languages. So if I'm going to anywhere that speaks Spanish, I'm good. Prague, France, you know what I mean? Like if I fell into a room full of French people, I would hope someone spoke English. Obviously, there's a lot of people there that speak English. But what about some of these places? I mean, like Prague, you know, or any of the cultures where you said you were completely an outsider, completely foreign to you. What was it like getting over the language barriers, or, you know, just, I guess, what advice do you have for somebody who's like, I would love to go to Japan. I don't know how English accessible it is. I'm afraid. Even if it is, right? They just don't know. Like, is there any opportunity that we can help people listening right now to still go be unfamiliar in an unfamiliar place? You'll love it, you know?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. So the first time I moved to Germany to work at Crytek, and the first time I stepped outside my house, I realized I didn't know any German. I didn't even know what the signs said, and I didn't know how to get back to my place. So it was actually quite interesting because then you start realizing, oh, all this stuff I've been kind of taking advantage of, or, you know, like taking for granted that I can read English signs. Now I have to look at landmarks and places to kind of navigate back to where I'm going. But now technology is moving so fast that they have a device that'll translate in real time, like what you're saying to somebody else, right? So
cheat codes.
It's almost like cheating, right? It's like you really, if you're really worried about communicating with someone else, technology now it's so far advanced, even in the last 5 years, that you don't really ever have to worry about that. And on top of that, it's amazing. I noticed how people can still communicate with each other even if they don't know what they're saying verbally. Like body language, pointing, gesturing. Like you'll get your point across if you really need to. Like, oh, where's the bathroom, right? Or you know, just you know. But there's always usually someone who speaks English, or wherever a lot of kind of American travelers go, there's usually always signs in every international airport that are English. And if you're stuck in a place that definitely only speaks a language that is not your own, then you can definitely rely on technology to help, like whether it's apps that here are the most used phrases, or here's the words you need to learn. I have some apps on my phone that are just strictly for, oh, you know, how do you say excuse me, right? Like, or, you know, stuff like certain things that are important in your day-to-day kind of, you know, experience.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, like, it sounds like you do a lot of this traveling by yourself mostly because it's the most flexibility. And though you do pepper in a friend or two, do you ever worry about going to travel with someone that you know as well? Because obviously, if you go with a partner, a girl, it's like the ultimate test, right? Can I handle, if you're not living together, is like, can I handle this person 24/7? A friend, I think, is a lot easier, especially if you've been friends for a long time. You're a lot more flexible and cool with each other.
Yeah.
But then the stranger is kind of like a mix of the two, I feel like, right? It's like, holy shit, this guy's an asshole, this girl's an asshole. I got 5 months with this person.
I would have to start a blog.
Yeah. I could start a blog, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So in my traveling experiences, I've traveled with friends, people I've never traveled with, girlfriends, and it is always a test of, you know, how well do you get along with this person in situations that are unplanned, and how well does that other person or you with handling stress and chaos or unplanned events. Some people just need everything planned out.
Yes.
I'm not that way. I'm very flexible. I can go with planned or I can go with strictly unplanned. I look forward to things being a little bit chaotic just because I just feel that's kind of like how life is, right? Like I feel more alive when things aren't strictly rigid.
Yeah.
But I've traveled with people who just strictly need a plan, and we probably didn't get along that well, but I gave them space, ended up getting my own hotel, and they ended up getting their own like hotel or Airbnb. And you can also do things where you don't always have to spend every hour with each other.
Right.
You can get a hotel right around the corner and say, oh, meet up with me at this breakfast place, and you give each other some space while you're traveling if you need that, and that helps a lot.
The proposals all come from Taff. It's like, I think we need to spend some time during the day apart.
Taff starts saying stuff like, where's your hotel?
It was your hotel. I'm going to stay at this hotel. Where are you going to stay? He's like, what do you mean? I think this is good for both of us.
You have Uber, right? Uber? Okay.
Yeah.
You're good?
No, I definitely can relate to this. I mean, I don't travel much. I'm probably the least travel person that both of you guys ever met, which is I'm so jealous when I see friends like you, Tav, like that have a consistent schedule to traveling where every 6 months I'm like, this guy or gal is going somewhere, because that's how they plan their life, right? And it is a problem for me to make that commitment, because honestly I just need to really make the commitment.